This is BBC News, I'm Gavin Gray. The headlines at 11. Captured on camera, the moment a powerful earthquake hit parts of Ecuador. More than 230 people are killed. Rescuers race against time to find survivors trapped under the rubble.
The third floor collapsed on top of us. They are all there. My family, my sister, my children. My God, may the rescue arrive.
The government of Ecuador has declared a state of emergency in 6 provinces after the country was hit by its strongest earthquake for decades. At least 235 people have been killed and more than 1,500 injured. The 7.8 magnitude quake struck about 100 miles northwest of the capital Quito, with the epicenter just outside the coastal town of Muisne. Tonight, rescue teams are still pulling people out of the rubble. From Quito, our correspondent Katie Watson has just sent this report.
Completamente destruidas.
In a country used to earthquakes, nobody's ever prepared for destruction on this scale.
Ellos han proporcionado a una menor de edad.
Rescuers desperately try and free a small child from the rubble. For the anxious crowd standing by, it's good news. She's free.
Tono modulado, pero genera emociones.
But not all searches are proving so successful. Rescuers calling out people's names in the hope of some response. The small coastal town of Pedernales in the northwest of the country was one of the worst hit. Residents slept outside, fearful of more to come. Rescuers are doing what they can with limited resources. The town's mayor has called for more help. This woman says the third floor of an apartment block collapsed on her family.
They are all there. My family, my sister, my children. My God, may the help arrive. They must rescue them from the rubble. My God, my children.
The death toll is still expected to rise as rescue efforts get underway. 10,000 troops and 5,000 police officers have been deployed to affected areas. The capital Quito was more than 100 miles from the quake's epicenter. But even here, supermarket shelves rattled, sending bottles flying. The power in some parts of the city was cut, causing people to panic, unsure of what was happening. When the quake struck, President Rafael Correa was on business in Italy. He cut short his trip to fly home immediately.
This was the worst earthquake to hit the country in decades. The president's called this a national emergency and urged Ecuadorians to stay strong. But some of the poorest parts of the country have been the hardest hit. As people continue to look for their loved ones or grieve for those who've died, the fear of aftershocks still remains. Katie Watson, BBC News in Quito.
Well, earlier I spoke to Christian Ibarra Santillan, who's in the capital Quito, and he described the moment that he felt the earthquake hit.
Well, it was very, very scary to be here. The thing just started so fast that we didn't have any time to react, really. And by the time that we realized it was something major, we just had to run to the street, and there were a lot of people on the street and emergency services. The electricity lines were shaking a lot, and there was a real fear that the buildings were going to collapse around us, but thankfully they didn't, although in some parts of the city they did fall.
You've had lots of small tremors over the last few weeks and months, but this was obviously very different.
Yes, after 10 or 20 seconds I thought it was going to pass, but when it didn't, I realized that it was definitely not just the normal small tremor that we're accustomed to here.
So what buildings in Quito have collapsed and how far are those from you?
Well, so far it's really hard to tell because the news are reporting mainly what happened in the coast region where the real damage was done. There we know that a lot of people died, and there was even the picture of this huge bridge that collapsed right on top of a car, killing the occupants.
Indeed, the pictures coming in are extremely dramatic, and we've got some showing some of the immediate aftermath. Were people particularly surprised at this, or was there a feeling that there was a big earthquake on its way because of the tremors that you'd been receiving?
As I said, we are kind of accustomed to it, so it's not really a big deal. It's like, I suppose, over there in England, when it's snowing, you just get accustomed to it. So it's the same here. It was just maybe 2 or 3 small tremors over the past 2 or 3 months. So we supposed it was just one of those, and maybe that's why there was a slow reaction from the population, myself included.
But possibly the strongest quake in 35 years for Quito.
Right. That's what they were saying, what the government said. The vice president said that it was the strongest earthquake since 1979.
That was Christian Ibarra Santillan, an eyewitness there from the capital, Quito.